All right, as I said, we're extremely excited to shine the spotlight on La Jolla Country Day School today. I want to turn the mic over to my colleague, Mary Rose Fernandez, who will introduce the school.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mary Rose Fernandez, as Joyce mentioned, and I'm the Vice President of Strategy Genius. And it really is a pleasure to host this webinar, and want to thank Joyce for setting all of this up, but also really want to thank La Jolla Country Day School, which is one of our newer members. So one of the newer members in our Strategy Genius family, and we're really excited to be able to feature them. La Jolla Country Day is pre-K to 12th grade. It's co-ed in an idyllic part of California. So that alone should be a good draw for many of you. And it was founded in 1926, really kind of as almost like a one-room cottage, one-room schoolhouse, if you will. And then today they have over 24 acres, which is really, really impressive, and over 1,100 students, really coming from a diverse geographic range. They serve 90 different zip codes. And one of the things that we feel is really important as becoming a member of Strategy Genius is really this commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. And this is something that La Jolla Country Day has been committed to, and as all of our schools, nobody has arrived, right? It's a process, and we are all a work in progress. And their partnership with us, is a testament to this commitment. And so we are excited to have them as partners, and really looking forward to today. So Joyce, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Rose. At this moment, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I want to introduce you to the team at La Jolla Country Day School.
Well, I want to welcome everyone here today for the spotlight. My name is Gary Cron. I'm the head of school, and I think at this time we're going to have a video we want to show you.
Dignity is one word that captures the essence of what it means to be human. To treat someone with dignity, you have to believe that they have value and that they're vulnerable. But within that, you accept their identity, you acknowledge them, you recognize them. You have to have a desire and then the skill set to treat people with dignity, because it's not easy. We all fall short. We all fall short. We'll say something, we'll think something, and we won't, in some sense, accept that person for who they are. Because sometimes we want people to be like ourselves, rather than understanding the privilege about being around people who are truly unique.
Good. Isn't that cool? Yeah.
So the role of this school is to allow people to gain a better understanding of what it means to be human, to be treating every human being with dignity.
I hope you enjoyed that snippet of who we are. And the purpose of the spotlight is for you to get to know our heart and soul. My name is Gary Cron. I'm the head of school. And as these slides come up, what I'm going to first talk about is what our mission is. And it's about developing students for a lifetime of intellectual exploration, personal growth, and social responsibility. But we also have a promise here at the school. The promise is to inspire greatness for a better world by leading with dignity. And that promise uses the word greatness. And we have determined over many years of research that people who achieve greatness have many attributes, but they always have these four. They're people of integrity. They have a strong work ethic. They have access to mentors and resources. That's why you send your child to a school like this. That's why you join this community. And the final one is they challenge the status quo. They don't ask why, they ask why not. But what's most important is our core value. And as you heard in the video, that core value is human dignity. And human dignity is what we're all born with, but we're all not born knowing how to treat people with dignity. But that defines who we are as an educational institution and as a community of people. The next slide, Jennifer. The other thing I wanted to share with you that I think is very important is our strategic directions. And the strategic directions, there are 4 of them. The first 3 are typical of most schools. We want to resource and compensate our faculty, especially here in San Diego, La Jolla area. It's getting very expensive to live in this area. We know we have to position our faculty so they can have a reasonable life in this area where the cost of living is very high. So resourcing and compensating our faculty is at the number 1 of our list of strategic directions. And then we want to revisit and renew our curriculum. We want to bring the proven, the past, and link it together with pioneering ideas. We are one of the first schools, if not the first, that's have a media literacy program in a K through 12 school. And then we want to shape the community. We want people with different ideas, perspectives, and experience to share in the learning experience here. And if you have those 3, I think you can be a good school. But I don't know if you can be a great school until you have the 4th. How do we develop the trust so that we can have challenging conversations, so that we can bring up topics that are important to us, that might be in some sense, there might be some hesitancy because there might be a religious component to them or a political component or a social component. But if we can't develop the trust to have those conversations, we're never going to grow in this area. So we're a community that is continuing to grow and develop, but it's a community that's going to have conversations so we get to know who we are, how we think, and how we can help each other grow. That's really the heart and soul of this institution. I want to thank you for spending a little time with us today. We have a great team lined up for you to hear from. And I want to pass this off to now our Director of Human Resources, Kelly Kennedy. Kelly?
Gary. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Kennedy. I'm the Human Resources Director here at La Jolla Country Day School, and I am in my 8th school year here at the school. And want to take just a couple of minutes to give you a really brief history of our school and where we are now, and add a little bit of color to what Mary Rose had shared at the very beginning. The roots of La Jolla Country Day School trace back to 1926, when Louise Balmer founded the Balmer School in her cottage home in La Jolla. It started with 3 students and 4 teachers, and as it grew, the school moved to different cottages around La Jolla. In 1955, the Balmer School rechartered itself as La Jolla Country Day School, and by this time it was a pre-K through grade 5 school with 104 students and 12 teachers. We continued to grow and add grade levels, and in the fall of 1961, our first classes were held on our current campus. And today we sit on 24 acres in the University City area of San Diego. We have just under 1,160 students from age 3 through grade 12. And our students are supported by 242 faculty and staff. Our current population, 46% of our students and 31% of our faculty and staff identify as a person of color. So we are now 4 years away from our centennial and have spent the past year and a half creating our campus master plan to reimagine our physical space and move us into our next 100 years. And Colleen O'Boyle will be introducing and speaking to you about our teaching and learning.
Thank you, Kelly. Again, my name is Colleen O'Boyle. I'm the Assistant Head of School for Academic Affairs here, which really provides me with the great honor to work with all of our teachers, our division heads, and our directors in our early childhood, lower, middle, and upper school. I wanted to first start with, you heard Gary talk about our mission and our core promise. I wanted to share with you our teaching and learning principles themselves. So in front of you, you see a diagram, if you will. Clearly, the academic piece is what we teach, it's content, but more importantly, the pedagogy is how we teach and the developmental distinctions that take place, whether you are a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 10, or an 18-year-old about to go off to college. Our teachers spend a lot of time thinking deeply about the how to connect the students to their learning. And you'll see on the bottom their relationships. None of this is possible without meaningful, healthy relationships. And when I go into classrooms, one of the greatest gifts or things that I love is when I can't find the teacher, because that teacher is actually sitting down next to the student, providing them with, as you can see in the center there, a sense of agency. Teachers are constantly asking questions of students so that they can cognate and demonstrate their own understanding without just sort of providing a canned answer. We really focus on relevancy. So yes, we have traditional anchors, but we're constantly pushing to be predictive in terms of what a student will need, not just for today, but for tomorrow. I'm sure you've heard of the great quote by John Dewey, that if we teach our students of today, then we rob them. If we teach our students of today that of yesterday, we rob them of tomorrow. And that is something that we really think about here at La Jolla Country Day School. And then you'll also see mastery and literacy there. So we are looking at mastery over time. We believe in the messiness of learning. We don't believe in perfection. And we believe that the greatest gift that we can provide our students is a sense of literacy in which they can articulate their own meaning. I could stand here today, Jennifer, if you could go to the next slide, and talk about all the different subjects that we teach. But I wanted to just give you some precepts and give you insights to our student work. So as I mentioned before, yes, we teach content, but we really teach skills and knowledge. So we have a clear understanding of what is it that we want students to be able to demonstrate, transfer, and articulate and understand. So we're less concerned about, yes, I'm creating a scientist, and more concerned about, I'm creating a critical, curious thinker and developer and designer versus just someone who can do route memorization. I know in my time in school, there were lots of time tests. We're really focusing on the balance between performance and being able to demonstrate, again, that agency piece, being able to put the student in the driver's seat, and then the teacher kind of steps aside and is helping to facilitate. And then, of course, as we climb the ranks, our little love bugs in lower school ask the most beautiful questions. So we want to continue to cultivate that in middle and upper school. And we want to make sure that we're providing meaningful feedback. I think everyone on this webinar knows that sometimes you get an A and you're not really sure why you got an A or a B. And so we want to provide sort of standards-based or competency-based feedback that's really meaningful and is directive and helpful for students. And again, relationships are at the core. This image that you see here is a student, Luke, who's in a 6th grade elective with our middle school art teacher, Lisa Corona. And the task was to obviously learn how to paint, do primary colors, but it was through the lens of designing your own album cover, and then actually writing lyrics and songs to emulate what he was feeling in that moment. Next slide. You'll see here we have a really strong mathematics program, but we've been doing some deep thinking about what is mathematics and how do we actually prepare students for the mathematics that they will encounter in their years ahead. So this is an example of 7th grade work in which students are using Desmos, which you can see there on the upper right-hand side. But what I love about this is you may notice that there's quite a bit of written expression. So students are, yes, doing computations. They're learning about rigids, transformations, and animation in this project, but they're having to actually articulate and write and express their thinking. So it's not just computation, it's application and it's reasoning. Next slide. These are two pieces from both ends of the spectrum. So this is on the right-hand side is from a kindergartner who was given an essential question: what actually happened to the bone when it was soaked in the vinegar? So this teacher is facilitating with an essential question, a driving question, is engaging with a group of kindergartners. They're talking, they're cogitating about it. And then the student is given an opportunity to actually draw and illustrate what they're thinking. So you can see the top part is, this is prior to it being soaked in vinegar, and then what happens. And so this may seem sort of futile in nature, but it's really amazing that the student is understanding and is demonstrating scientific thinking, and then is using a preference of drawing to articulate their meaning. And then on the left-hand side, this is a biology class in which we were doing ethics in science and medicine. And so students are given a list of options, so choices to explore the immortal life of Henrietta Lacks. If you haven't heard about this piece of period in our science history, you should definitely look into it. And the students were exploring sort of both history, policy, economics, and biology, and having an interdisciplinary project. So this is the prompt. Then they had to do a presentation, a dissertation, if you will, and then a written assignment. Next slide, please. Here's some images of mathematics as well. In the upper left-hand side, this is one of our recent graduates, and she's off at Johns Hopkins, and she will be helping us co-present an evening tonight on data science, in which we are threading in data science and engineering pathways into our math science and design and engineering curriculum. And so we don't have time to show the video, but it's another opportunity to see that, yes, we're teaching content, but it's really the pedagogy and preparing our students for their future. Next slide. And then last but not least, being able to share, express, and have joy in learning, I think, is probably our number one job as educators. So on the lower right-hand side, these are junior kindergartners that are learning how to be conferring writers, and they're learning how to create their first book. And so this begins very early. We give students that sense of responsibility, and the lower school team, and you're going to be joined by one of my lower school colleagues in a second. And so it's not that we just expect our teachers to kind of change how they're teaching a particular tenet or scope, but rather we're supporting them with professional development and ongoing work to kind of shift some of those approaches and pedagogical behaviors. You'll see up top, this is an example of an 8th grader who's writing an identity piece. I really love this middle piece. This is a 5th grade example of work from ECUA, in which she had students read Seed Folks, and she's having them engage in critical thinking of the push and pull and what it's like to move to a new country, a new continent, and how are environmental or economic factors and cultural factors informing the characters in that book. And then the Vogue piece is from one of our art classes, in which a student was kind of doing their impression of what it means to be beautiful. And clearly that is Shrek. Next slide. I want to pass it off to my colleagues. So we have members of our community here who are going to talk about different aspects of our programming. And so I'll pass it off to Jennifer Turner.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Turner. I am the director of the Head's Office and Enrichment Programs. This is my 5th year at La Jolla Country Day School. And I am actually originally from the East Coast, and I have been in California for 24 years and San Diego for 21. And I thought it was important to share that For those of you who are, interested in making a move across the country, I'm stuck. I love it. I love working at La Jolla Country Day School. My job entails working with the Board of Trustees, as well as overseeing our extended day after school and summer programs. I am going to just share a little bit about the collaboration that I personally, as well as other faculty members and staff members, have with the connection to the greater San Diego community. As Kelly mentioned, La Jolla Country Day School is kind of centrally located in San Diego, so it makes it really easy to get to different parts of the city. We have partnerships and connections with nonprofit organizations, medical institutions or facilities, companies, and colleges and universities. We are located right across the street from UC San Diego. And those connections and partnerships are sometimes formed through our parents as well as our grandparents. Through those partnerships, we have brought in guest speakers to come speak to our faculty, staff, as well as our students. We take our students on field trips to various places in San Diego. And then also through some of those partnerships and connections, we have formed volunteer opportunities as well as internships. Another amazing thing about the school is the way that our faculty and staff get to connect with each other cross-divisionally. And so when I thought about the ways that that happens, a lot of them are around social events. And it was mentioned earlier, the People of Color Conference. We are sending a delegate of faculty and staff, but through all 3 divisions. And it's a great way for our faculty and staff members to connect with each other. We also have a Hope Conference in which happens in all 3 divisions across our campus. And then another community connection is along with one that's internally, is that we have a regional diversity scholarship, and Colleen will talk a little bit more about that later on. But it also allows our faculty and staff to come together. But then we also have Colleen oversees the teaching and learning. And so there are, and that's with our division directors and department heads. On a leadership level, we have a weekly update meeting. Again, that includes senior leadership as well as division heads and department directors. And it's a great opportunity for us to come together to talk about things that are happening on and off campus. There's a great partnership between our visual and performing arts team as well as athletics. So you will see artists at athletics events and athletics athletes at artist events, as well as their faculty and staff supporting our team members. Through our open house, there's a lot of connection and community that takes place. And then I just wanted to share that another way, and I think that there's 2 events on our campus that take place, and one's not an event, our Life or Lunch, as well as when it's time for college recommendations. I love seeing all of the emails that go, that take place amongst our staff members and our faculty members, asking for a little bit of information and a snippet of information about a student, and then coming together and celebrating our lifers on campus, as well as encouraging our students as they apply for college, their senior year, or finding out the colleges that they have decided to attend. One of the reasons why I'm at La Jolla Country Day School is for our Black community, our Black students, because I think representation really matters. And I also support our upper school BSU. And so I am now going to turn it over to, and I wasn't really paying attention to the next person, but hi, Christina, good to see you.
Nice to see you too. My name is Christina Jimenez and I teach first grade in the lower school division. I started last year here at Country Day. So this is my one in how many months now here. Since I've started here, I'm going to talk a little bit about my professional development and professional growth being here at the school. I was able to attend the People of Color Conference last year, just what Jennifer was talking about. It was such a great conference. From all the years that I've been teaching in first grade and a couple schools I've been to, I actually never knew about it. So just coming here and hearing about that and having the opportunity to go was really, really great. It was online, but it was such a wonderful experience. I was invited to speak with the new Tories this year, so those are other ways that I've been able to connect. And I was also invited to do a meet and greet with potential idea candidates. So got to go to some dinners and just ask questions. And so we're really involved in that part of when we bring somebody into our community, that our voices are heard and we get to ask questions of who's going to be a part of this. I've been able to attend some BPOC dinners that happened last year as well. And then just within my classroom, I've had the ability to just be flexible and help my colleagues use a growth mindset when looking at curriculum. So just growing professionally within being a teacher, an educator within my grade level. I've been able to introduce a new, how to teach social studies through a different lens, specifically how we begin our unit on community. So that was something that I really, really worked on last year, and having the trust and having those challenging conversations that Gary was talking about earlier, it happens, but it's welcomed with just honesty and being vulnerable, and your colleagues are going to be there to support you. And sometimes some conversations are difficult, but my experience last year was really welcoming, and we made a lot of changes that I was, so surprised to happen, but really felt supported as well. I also took to some of my experience from my other schools and working at a project-based school. I had some of my students design a literacy game. So that was something I brought to the table. So having that flexibility as an educator here is really welcomed, and they want it, they want all the ideas. I remember Gary asking me, what are things that you, that you have that, we can learn from? Those are the things that are just really great about Country Day. I've had many opportunities for families to invite families to teach about their cultures and their traditions, and that is welcomed here because, again, we are respecting each other's identity here, and that is a big mission of Country Day. And I've been able to attend a Handwriting Without Tears workshops, and I know there's more. Again, I've only been here for a year and how many months, so I know there's more workshops that I can also continue to take to continue to grow as an educator. And then it looks like I have Tiffany coming, so wait one second. Okay.
Hello, everyone. I'm Tiffany Thompson, and I am new to Country Day. I started about 5 months ago, back in July, and I want to talk to you guys about, transitioning to a new school, not only a new school, but a new city. I came from a whole new state. I was in Indianapolis originally, working as a school counselor. I've been a school counselor for the past 12 years. And to be able to come out here to Country Day was very exciting for me. I've always wanted to move to California, and then to come not only to just California, but to San Diego, but not only San Diego to La Jolla was even much more of a blessing and opportunity for me to be able to bring some of my skill set. So some of the things that I experienced as far as my first impressions of the school when I first came to campus, everything was so smooth, the way the process went from interviewing to how they offered me the position, to as far as helping make sure that I was set up for success coming here. Many people reached out to me in regards to like places to live, sharing areas that I might want to look at, places nearby the school. And still to this day, people still have shared those type of information with me. So I really appreciated the family environment and the way that people come together to really showcase support. I felt very welcome here. I felt like my identity was seen. Many people came to me wanting to know what things I like to offer, what opportunities I like to be a part of. I did mention when I came here that I've done a lot of diversity work. So I've been able to even work into that area where I've been able to share some concepts and ideas that have been heard and utilized. I've also been able to do a lot of stuff with the counseling program. We were looking at doing more stuff around expressive therapies because my background is expressive therapies using the arts for education. And so that has been a great thing for me to be able to share with those concepts, and then helping us find different trainings for some of our other counselors here so that we all can be on the same page when it comes to like play therapy and art therapy and those different genres and modalities to help our students to be the best that they can. So, it's been a great experience coming here thus far. I'm still looking forward to many more opportunities to share and grow. I will be going to this People of Color conference that everyone keeps telling me about. I'm so excited about that opportunity here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. I've also been able to do a couple of the experiential ed trips. I did go to Santa Barbara with our freshmen, and it really was a good experience because I was able to connect with a lot of students, and being able to build that rapport right away was really encouraging to be able to have students to support and that trusted me immediately. That made it really easy for me to transition as well, because those students went back and told other students that I was someone they can trust and they can talk to. So now I have a variety of students coming to see me, which is also amazing and great that I have such support from not only my students, but from my staff, other staff members that work here, administrators, teachers, and the families have been great as well. So just been a great experience overall. And I think that La Jolla Country Day has a lot of great things that they're doing and things that we are putting in place that can make things even better for those who would like to come out and work for a school like this. Thank you. So I guess next is Damien.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. Thanks, everyone. Damien Fatongia here. I am the Managing Director of College Counseling, and I started at Country Day back in the winter of 2019 after spending about 12 years on the college admissions side, recruiting students and evaluating applications. One of the big reasons that I'd always known about Country Day during sort of the recruiting circuit that I was doing, but what brought me to throw my hat in the ring when they were looking for new college counselors is this idea of community at a place like Country Day. And not only just community, but the types of students that make up the community. And one of the big attractions of why I wanted to apply is that we have such a variety of types of students on our campus that it really makes the work very interesting. We have students on our campus that are interested in going to art school. We have students who are thinking about tech schools, and then we all certainly have those that are looking at UCs and so forth. So really being able to work with these different types of interests and helping them and supporting them through their college process was a big attraction. And what's really has kept me there now, going to my my fourth class now, is the mentorship that's been made available to me, particularly as I've gone into this management role that I'm in right now. Prior to stepping into that role, I was just a co-director of college counseling, and we had some changes in leadership within the department. And so I was fortunate enough to be asked to step into that role and lead the office. And that's really something that I've seen since my time at Country Day, is this idea about growing leaders within the community. There's been several other department heads on our campus where they've been mentored and trained and been able to rise through the ranks there at the school, and has been something that I've been really appreciative of, giving those opportunities to those that are there on campus. And so with that in mind, I think it's a great place to work. There's a lot of trust that's been put on us, not only from our leadership like Colleen, Gary, our head of upper school, which is Tom Chicano, but certainly with the families as well. There's a great partnership that amongst the adults on our campus. There's been a lot of different activities that have been mentioned here already, where we gather, before, after school, social events, things like that really makes it a very genuine family feel. And that's something that's very much appreciated on my end. It's something that I was looking for in a place to work. So just a few things here that we have. A couple of items, I guess, to note about the college counseling program that we have on our campus. Is that we work closely with our faculty members in terms of knowing what the students are doing inside the classrooms. Progress reports and things like that come to us. And so when we're mentoring and talking with students about their college options, we do presentations throughout the school year to our entire community, typically once or twice a month, where we invite everyone from middle school all the way up through the upper school to come and join us. We try to keep our lower school families away, so they're not just, many of them are ready to jump into it, but we try to keep them at bay as not to cause any anxiety there. But certainly I'll be around for some additional questions if there are some. And I think with that, I'll pass it over to Colleen.
Thank you, Damian, team. So you've heard a little bit about, who we are and the personal live stories from many of our team members. At Country Day, we really believe in transparency and honesty. And so I wanted to just close with a few updates in terms of where we are with our DEI work. So you'll see at the top there, we have 4 goals that our teaching and learning community are working on. How do we supporting and navigating hard yet meaningful conversations? A lot of times we talk about we need to have difficult conversations, like, well, no, actually, when harm is done or when there's an error or a microaggression, those are actually really meaningful conversations that we need to address and have. And so as a team, we are partnering with 2 different consultants, one in the lower school, Monique Marshall, and in the middle school and upper school, Anthony Witt. And so both individuals are going to be helping us with that first bullet point. We also want to kind of build that muscle for the real-time dilemma. So how do we actually role play and go through consultancy so that when and if something happens, that we're prepared and people feel empowered and supported in how to address. As we mentioned earlier, we're constantly looking at our curriculum and our feedback process. Christina mentioned that she felt a sense of agency and acceptance and empowerment to rethink how we talked about community identity, our social studies programming. And that's something that we're doing. We've done audits through our library, and we have a lot of work to do. We are not perfect as a community. So I just want to make that known for everyone on this call. And then also we're looking to help support our parents and guardians who, our kiddos get all of this stuff before our parents and guardians do. And so how do we kind of be that bridge? We have several task forces at the board level. We did our AIM assessment a couple of years ago. If you click on that link on the bottom, you can have direct access to our AIM report that we put together, that our faculty and staff vision committee put together. If you go to the next slide, thank you. We are continuing to build our affinity and alliance groups. So here you can see a number of our different affinity and alliance groups. With the help and partnership of Anthony Witt, we are going to continue to do some more training around how to effectively host and hold affinity groups, how to empower students and adults. And so I would say that we've been doing affinity groups for a number of years. But as a team, we don't know if we've been doing them as well as we could. And so we're looking to put more process, program, and training in place to fulfill that. We've already talked about SDLC and HOPE. Our RSDS Diversity Committee and Summit is completely student run, and it's a partnership with Country Day, the Bishop School, Francis Parker, and Pacific Ridge, in which students lead their own diversity conference, and that'll happen on February 4th here. And so probably the highlight of my week is every Tuesday at 4 p.m. in which I attend their meetings and all the students are running the meeting and the planning. The next slide, please. I would say progress and ongoing work. I would say number one thing that we need to do is continue to audit our curriculum, continue to refine our hiring process, as well as continue to make sure we have behaviors and processes and programming in place to live out our shared goals about how to be a more diverse community and how to be more culturally responsive. In terms of next slide, we had our first ever director of diversity last year. And at the end of the year, she was phenomenal. She decided to go back to higher ed. And that we learned so much from her, and she instituted such great change. And then with her departure, that was like a pause point for us thinking, okay, why didn't we keep her and what work do we have to do? So we have been in the process of interviewing, as Christina mentioned, a number of different candidates starting over the summer till present day. And so if you or anyone that you know of is interested in applying for the director position, you can go to our website. We know that this position is not just for one person, but it's a collective responsibility. We have a budget to support whomever is in this position in terms of having representation in lower, middle, and upper school. And what I mean by that is that these aren't just task forces where I'm interested in DEI, but we're also compensating people for that additional work. And it's sort of a distributed leadership model itself. We have additional careers if you're interested in, so you can go to our website. But we wanted to end with an anchor of gratitude and thanking you for being here and opening to any questions that people may have. And then I'm going to invite my co-presenters.
Yes, please. If all of the La Jolla Country Day, people will come back on camera. We will get to questions. And I just want to start and say thank you. This was amazing. I really enjoyed learning more myself. I'm not currently looking for work, but I enjoyed hearing everything. And it sounds like an amazing place to work. So if the attendees have questions that they haven't had a chance to put forth, put them in the Q&A. And I will get started on some questions for your team. So we've sort of tiered them with the easier questions first. And this actually, a couple of you, I think Colleen and Jennifer mentioned having relocated to California, the San Diego area, La Jolla, as an East Coaster myself. What's it like in the area? Is it a great place to live? Is it good for 20-somethings? Is it good for 50-somethings? Good for singles? Good for families? What's it like out there?
I would say it's good for all age ranges. So I moved here in my 20s and, I'm now in my late 40s. And so there's different parts of San Diego. And, if you want to live at the beach, you have that as an opportunity. If you're raising a family, maybe going into the suburbs, North County, South County, East, there's so many different options. And there are a lot of like family friendly activities, as well as their nightlife for those who are, I guess, under the age of 50.
I think Jennifer was going to bed early in her 20s too.
But
9 o'clock. Which is fantastic. Does anyone else want to add what they love about La Jolla and what it's like to live there, or San Diego?
Yeah, I'd really love to hear, Colleen, when you've just moved out, right? So, Colleen.
Me.
Yeah.
Tiffany. Yes, I just moved out. Yeah, I just moved out here from the Midwest. So it's definitely a big difference. Coming from the Midwest, there's a lot of cultural shock in a sense. It's definitely a different culture, way more laid back. One of the biggest things that I noticed, at least living in La Jolla, is people don't blow your horn. So basically I could sit at a light for like 20 minutes and no one blows your horn. So back home, the light, as soon as the light turns, if you're not turning or moving late, they're blowing at you and everything else. So that was one of the biggest adjustments, like, oh, people are actually nice. Like, I know that it's not always like that, but for the most part, I do feel people are very much more laid back, much more of a Zen feel. It's definitely a place to come to get your Zen. If you like to just chill and lay back and go to the beach and just a really relaxed atmosphere. I feel like one of the things I did say, and me being a therapist and a counselor, I can definitely speak to this as far as like psychology wise, like my neurology, like my neural system was highly elevated. And I didn't realize how elevated I had been, like as far as anxiety. My body was just highly stressed, and I didn't realize it because of all of the fast pace and the conservativeness and just all of the tension and things that happen in the Midwest. And coming here, I feel like that has kind of released because of the water, the sun. We don't have the cold and the winters and all the things that make people frustrated, upset. I feel like those things have really helped lower that anxiety, lower some of that neurological things that causes the extra stress and trauma on your brain. So it's really amazing to kind of see that play out in your own self.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I'm sorry I called you Colleen. With three of you, in the Colleen window.
But you pay for all that too. You pay for all that too. There is a difference in the
That's true.
finances too. So I will say that that's things that you do need to think differently when you come out here, as far as like buying a home, where you live, how you live. It is a different mindset that you have to adjust to.
Agree.
I do want to plug that we have more than beaches in San Diego. The mountains. So if anybody's
Yes, the
interested in snow sports, we're talking about Big Bear is probably about 2 hours away. It's a really big biker's paradise. So if you like being out on the road, cycling, we have actually several cyclers that's on our staff and faculty. And there's a lot of outdoor spaces for camping. So really an active environment. And so if that's something that you're looking for, in addition to the beach, it's all there for you.
That's wonderful. So if we move to thinking about potential future colleagues for you guys, what would you say would be, the attributes of someone who would love working at Country Day?
Humility.
I would say forward thinking, creative.
I always say growth mindset.
Yeah.
To be able to keep pushing forward.
A risk taker.
Sense of humor.
Boldness. I know that Tiffany, I'm an East Coaster. I came here in the year 2000. And although I do enjoy the maybe a little more laid backness, I also like to kind of get to it. And there are a lot of us out here also. So I think another trait would be, we want to do meaningful work. And we want to have partners in that. And I'm going to give you a tool to help. It's not just me, it's us. And so having that humility and understanding that I am never the smartest person in the room. Everyone else can contribute and elevate an idea or a project.
Can I ask a little bit more about Damien when you said being a risk taker? How does La Jolla Country Day School, how do you interpret or look at quote unquote failure?
I can't speak for the whole school, but in terms of just my office and sort of the work that we do, I guess I'll just speak about programming. So for us, the evening talks that we do, we would invite, admissions representatives from different types of schools. And sometimes we have a lot of attendees because it's a big name school, and there's others that, we want to also elevate other types of institutions that may not be popular amongst our student body. And so for us, sometimes there may be a risk of, well, why did y'all invite them if there's nobody that's going to be? So just wanting to make sure that we give everybody a chance, regardless of how it may land. And then we'll recalibrate and say, okay, what did we do wrong? How can we improve this program for next time around? And give it another shot and see how it goes. So at least in terms of my office of college counseling, that's how we've seen some of the risk taking that we've done.
Christina, I was wondering, like in the classroom, how does that look for the kids as well as for your colleagues?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I personally had to be a risk taker, getting what I really truly believed was needed to change curriculum and our approach, and I had to take that risk. And I'm also all about hearing my colleagues and following through with what they want to do, and I'll try it. I'm always willing to try. And if it doesn't work, then we look back at it and then we reflect and go back. And that's kind of that's what teaching is all about. And same thing with our kids. When we do a couple lessons, a lot of things we talk about is how can we learn from our mistakes? And sometimes you're planning something where maybe they are going to get challenged and get frustrated, and you let them, and you just like walk away. You're like, how are you gonna be problem solvers? And sometimes it's a little messy, just like Colleen said, but then eventually they figure it out. So a lot of things, specifically with like first graders, is that we are always trying to see how they can work, just how we are working as a team. That's what real life is. So we're always trying to replicate that with a little bit of guidance, of course, the first graders, but we also let our students take risks, and it's okay. And I think it's just having them know that it's okay, and that what can we do with these feelings after? So we also try to name feelings and identify them and say, did it feel like this in your belly? well, that's okay. Yeah, that's what it feels like when you're not in your green zone, as we call it. How are we going to get back to that green zone now? How are we going to learn from it? And what can we do better the next time? So we're always reflecting as well.
Okay, so you guys have spoken about community, and it sounds like a warm and collaborative community. What are some traditions that you have at the school that, you know, future colleagues would get involved with?
This Friday, we have Grandparents and Grand Friends Day, which is one of the most joyful days of the year, in which students invite their grandparents or grand friends. And so we invite them into the classrooms, they see the learning. And so that happens at the lower school. And then we have a separate date for middle and upper school. Because as you can imagine, the middle schoolers greet their grandparents a little bit differently than our lowers do. So I'd say that's one tradition that's happening this week. Anyone else?
Okay.
You're muted.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a while. Yeah, I don't know if it's a tradition, but it's the culture. People say hi to each other and they want to know how you're doing and they care about each other. And we have a lunch program where we all have lunch at between 11 and 1 so that we can cross bridges and have conversations, and whether those with colleagues or with students. So I think it's a culture of caring that has become not a tradition, but who we are.
I love that. Does anyone else want to comment, not necessarily on traditions, but more about the culture and, you know, what might make good fit?
I always said to just ask, somebody knows something in this school. I mean, the benefits is it's a large community, you know, between all 3 divisions. So if I don't know something, somebody's going to know it. So I always just say, ask somebody and somebody will tell you and point you in the right direction.
I think it's pretty remarkable that, like, my 2 colleagues here. So Tiffany is an expressive therapist. And so, yes, she's the counselor, but she also brings that part of who she is. Christina is a dancer, and her students know that she's an amazing dancer, right? Damien used to be a professional, not football, but what's the other? Give it to me. Rugby player. Like, I think that's pretty great that you can be your true, authentic, self. Jennifer tormented us because she's from Philly and she wore her Phillies jersey all throughout the series in an obnoxious way. Right? But she knows that there's trust and love in the room for that space. So I think you can be, hopefully you can be your true self. But at the same time, we're always thinking about like the margins and making sure that, there are people who don't feel that. So how can we design for that sense of connection and community?
And
I'm sorry, we only have a few minutes left. And I wanted to really kind of like give you the last word in terms of what would you want to say to somebody who is thinking about making a big move out to La Jolla Country Day School?
I just like to add, yeah.
I was gonna say, you won't regret it.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable place, and we span a large space. Last night you go to basketball practice, our girls basketball team is ranked right now number 7 in the country. And they will go off to the best colleges and universities, not just because they're athletes, but they're scholars as well. They love to learn. And so you'll see a campus here that of the artists and the scholars and the athletes, and you'll see faculty who care deeply about them. When our alums come back, they talk about the faculty and how much they mean to them. So we're a human experience, and I hope we will continue to grow and take care of each other. And the door is always open for people who want to come visit.
That's amazing. I think that's a great place to stop. I don't think anybody wants to come after Gary's saying it's a human place. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope everyone did. We are going to post it so many people can watch and listen and learn more about La Jolla Country Day. So thank you to the team who came and spent the hour with us. We appreciate you.
Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right,
And thank you
enjoy.
to everybody who came. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.